Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I'm on leadchess.org and I just got paired up playing a 15-2 game. So let's throw a have fun at my opponent. G King. Okay, so French defense. Um, okay, I'll go down this path. I did have an option for D3 and maybe I turn it into a King's Indian attack. Not the case here. So I've played some lines with knight c3. I'm going to give the Tarrasch variation a go. This tends to fit in well with the positional-minded player. We could get quite an imbalance with knight c3, bishop b4. So very often, well, what could happen is that black will be saddled with an isolated pawn. However, I don't see that as being the case here. So, I guess we're going down this path where I grab a little bit of space, and the knight goes to d7, c5, and I'm not too familiar with these lines, to be perfectly honest. e5, knight d7, and then like f4, c3 supporting the center. I could try for that. Let's see. Yeah, let's put it on. Why not? So I have a little bit of space. Now, question here is, can I get in f4? I'm going to play f4. I'm not developing. I'm putting some great value here on my e5 pawn. So, taking some time out to make sure he stays put. And I'm considering making another pawn move. A lot of pawn moves so far. But I really want to maintain the e5 pawn. I want to also keep control over the c5 square. I want to do a lot of things here. Do I have the time to do it? Controlling c5 is important. Controlling c5, well, maintaining my d4 pawn, let's say, controls the knight on d7. So I'm looking at this position in a way where I'm trying to control, to a certain extent, the d7 knight. I control him, or at least I have a little bit more information about the bishop. He'll have to be deployed along this diagonal. Be tough to make use of d7. So I think I could start out with just c3. And it may be the case that this knight occupies f3. And then I get out of my bishop's way. So I'm spending a lot of time here because I just want to make sure I organize my pieces in a good way. I want to get a favorable setup. It could be difficult for me to defend d4. I'm anticipating queen b6. Black is currently ready to win the d4 pawn. So let's put this knight here. And maybe I could get in bishop d3 and knight to e2. I'd like to get those moves in first before committing the bishop. In fact, b2 may be sensitive if I try to deploy the bishop too soon. Bishop e3, maybe there's some critical line kicking off with queen b6. I'm not sure. I don't think I would be too concerned over a bishop check. I think I have a couple interesting replies to that. One is to simply block. I know I'm working with a space advantage, and generally one should shy away when you have a space, shy away from piece exchanges when you have a space advantage. But another take on this is that I would be trading my bad bishop for their good bishop. if something like this is to occur. Bishop d2 should be quite all right. And the other move I was thinking I could maybe run with is king to f2 if I was really trying to, abide by this principle of not trading too many pieces when you have a space advantage. So, okay, well, let's just follow through here. Is this their idea? They're going to play bishop to b4. I like that black made this decision. I like that black made this decision so quick. Reason being that c3 is now vacated, and I could consider a quick transfer of my king knight to c3. It's kind of funny. Queen knight is playing here, the king knight is playing here. 4 moves to acquire these positions, when you could also get it in with 2. Okay, well, what's the point of a5? How should I react to that? Well, how to organize here? This is an interesting moment. Should I take some time out to stop any piece from arriving on b4? Or am I okay with allowing, let's say, bishop d3, knight b4, and I back up? I don't think that black would be in time to key in on any of these squares that the knight on b4 is observing. And I think in the end, black is kind of losing time. Bishop d3, knight b4, bishop to b1. Eventually I give him a boot, he goes back, and okay, I'll still need to take some time out to move my bishop from b1, but I don't really see that as so much of an inconvenience. I mean, the other option is to maybe, look at the weakness that is, there's 2 gaps in black's position now, so maybe I should key in on the b5 square? A quick knight e2 to c3. Trying to take advantage of the 2 things. Black helping me to vacate c3 and the hole on b5. Would there be any downside with that? I'm going to say no. I'm going to shoot for that. It's kind of funny how these knights are soon to be positioned. If you're just seeing the position without the moves, you would think that this is a king knight. And once he's here, you would think that's the queen knight. Okay, so what does black do in the meantime? What kind of pawn breaks may black be eyeing up? Okay, so I don't have any fear of the queen taking up the b6 post and intensifying pressure here. All right, right around this point, I'm thinking I don't even want to move my dark square bishop. All right, let's follow through, swing the bat around. I need to move him there. I need to get my light square bishop playing. And I may just kind of work around a knight that's on the c4 square. My bishop does a pretty fine job of keeping a knight on c4 under control. I have to be careful about giving up my light square bishop. This is my better bishop. And so exchanging him off for a knight, even in some situations, if I'm to, let's say, win a black pawn, let's say my queen is on b3 and the knight jumps into c4, takes. I'm up a pawn, but I've given up the bishop pair. I've also given black access to the d5 square, and my d4 pawn may become a bit more vulnerable. It is, after all, in a half-open file, and this bishop could maybe one day turn out to be a great pest. Okay, so I think I could put my bishop on d3. I could try to show in this position type that my light square bishop is miles better than theirs. So I should probably put it on a really nice diagonal, and I think it'd be quite scary for black to castle kingside, no? Why, that's another question I have. Where is the king going? Now that this pawn has been committed, and if they go kingside, I have this space invader pawn. Bishop bearing down right at h7. There's some tricks maybe one day. Captures on h7, knight g5, queen h5. So let me revisit this variation here with bishop d3, knight b4. Am I still okay with backing up and then one move later giving him a boot? I think I am. Yeah, I think I'm quite all right with that. So, yeah, there isn't a fast way for black to key in on these squares with the knight on b4. So, right around this point, I'm thinking that there's maybe an improvement for black. I think this is maybe too slow of an approach. There aren't any grave weaknesses in the black position. Okay, yeah, maybe b5, but the pieces seem to be on okay squares. It's kind of tricky. I'm definitely feeling a bit more free with my pieces. Both my knights are in this sweet spot of the board. Uh, really well placed knights. This is a fantastic bishop. I'm ready to castle. I'm not early on. What was I doing? I was drawing some attention to. Yeah, I know I'm making a lot of pawn moves. I'm wasting time I'm devoting some time, let's say, not wasting time, but I'm devoting a lot of time to reinforcing my e5 point. And it appears, at least, that black has given me some time to maintain my pawn presence in the center. I think it has good support, in other words. So this is interesting. I'm starting to see now the idea that black has. So this knight's looking to key in on c4. I'm getting the impression that I'm just going to have to be content with working around a piece on the c4 square. May have to do this and rook to b1 to defend here, and only then deploy my dark square bishop. Right around this point as well, I think I want to play a3, as otherwise a3 hits by black, and then I'm just never getting rid of a knight on b4, and I think he would be too great a bother. I know I'm weakening b3. They could fork my rook and bishop one day, but I'd be okay giving up my dark square bishop. That's my bad bishop. So do I have what are my candidate moves? It's just this castles. Let's get a3 in. 623, 12 moves in. So I imagine that this is an interesting idea. You got one pawn restricting two. That counts for something. So let's see. I should be on the lookout for an f5 break. Maybe in a situation where this pawn does not have support, I can get this in a bit easier. Takes, and then I could scoop up d5. I don't think he's going to be going anywhere fast. I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, it would certainly be consistent. It ties in well with a4. You open up the a4 square, and you bring this knight in here. What other candidate moves? Well, the bishop doesn't have so many options. Okay, knight a5 it is. Okay. Well, probably just castle here. Knight b3, rook to b1. Yeah. Can't really save my dark square bishop. Yeah, let's see. Will it be knight b3 or knight to c4? Definitely, I'm not taking a knight when it arrives on c4. It's too valuable. I don't get anything for it. It'd be different if maybe black had to take with the pawn and I would have some really great reason to make use of e4, but that's just not the case here. Some rough moves, I'm thinking queen to e2, bishop to e3, rook to c1, but it's going to depend on which one of these squares black wants to occupy with the knight. If a knight occupies c4, this kind of gives my knight on c3 a bit more security, in a way. Because, when the rook goes to this half-open file, there won't be any direct pressure on the knight. I have to be on the lookout for tactics on a3. They're soon going to... Okay, they're going in for knight b3. This is the move that I feared less, somehow. Okay, I don't have many options. I got this covered. Some offsetting knights here on b3 and f3. Well, what's the follow-up here? Are they going to sink another knight into this square? Now, this might be a case where I would capture the knight. As mentioned, maybe I can make use of this. Here, takes, maybe even then d5. So this creates a weakness on g6, h6. How can I take advantage of these weaknesses, if at all? Is now time to maybe look to challenge this knight. So for example, this and then knight to d2. That may be interesting. I think I should get my bishop playing. Even one of these things. I'd like a dark square bishop exchange. One step closer to maybe arriving at a good knight versus bad bishop position. I'd really like to one day play against the light square bishop. Black's light square bishop. So, light square bishop, specific position, or one of my knights versus the light square bishop. Basically, I don't want any of my minor pieces to exchange themselves off for the light square bishop. I gotta play a bit faster. Let's do something that I'm pretty sure is okay. So, a bit of a changing of the guard on d4. I may challenge this piece that's pretty deep in my position. But for the time being, I'm working around him quite all right. Let's see. Is he enough of a bother that I would want to do this? Have this defended. This seems supernatural. Just rook to c8. Not yet committing the bishop. Although, well, yeah, where will he go? Is he going to go here to kind of watch over these squares? We'll see. Queen e2. I don't like that this knight is controlling c1. Rook to c8 is already threatening bishop takes pawn, pawn takes, rook takes knight. So how am I dealing with that, actually? Wow. There's soon going to be... Yeah, I think rook c8 connected with knight c4. That's going to be tough to deal with. Interesting. Very interesting. Oh. Okay. I'm under 5. What other moves might black run with here? Rook c8. How am I defending against this tactic? Bishop takes a3. Do I have to go queen e1 to defend? Do I have time for knight to d2? On takes, I step my queen up and my queen's defending. May I have to one day take out a knight that's on c4? Okay, they're not going in for rook to c8. I'm pretty sure the computer would be lighting up with rook to c4. Now, I think I need to, before there's too many pieces breathing down my neck over here on the queen side, I think I need to get rid of one of them. More long term, I could shoot for this kind of stuff, but I think the more pressing issue here is to deal with this knight before before it's too late. I think I need to get rid of this guy. And, oh, you know, it might even be an idea. I could reposition my knight, or maybe even just get him out of the way, right? Knight to a2. Yeah, he's just too much of a bother. So we're going to challenge this knight. Get out of my house, man. Get out. Now, they've created some irreparable weaknesses on the king side. h5 and g6. There's a lot of gaps over here. This is the main one that's lighting up for me. f6. We might as well consider g5 as a whole. It could be controlled, but I could always take out the pawn that looks to control g5. So dark square weaknesses is basically what's lighting up in my mind over here. There are dark square weaknesses in black's camp. Would be a fan. I would be a fan of a dark square bishop exchange. Bad bishop for good bishop. That runs through my mind a lot. Plays a big role. Very important strategic concept to be familiar with. Okay, so what options does black have here? I should just point out that I'm ready to win a pawn. So he is hit twice now. So let's see. Knight takes knight. I will be improving my queen. Yeah, knight takes knight, queen takes, knight c4. I think I could maybe even take. Yeah, in a way, we could have the structure change where black acquires a 3 versus 2, but it would be an unhealthy 3 versus 2. There would be a big gap on b4, a hole on b4, and if I get a d5 break-in, you know, I may be able to make my e5 pawn mobile one day, and he could strike with a timely push and maybe change the kingside structure. I get to determine that. It happens on my terms. So a variation, something like this, takes, d5. Then black is confronted with a tough decision, I would imagine. If you take, then you're inviting me to recapture and improve my knight, and he's a beast. He'd be a beast on d5. And if you don't take, well, this pawn may even just continue pushing. And I have a connected passed pawn that's 2 steps away from queening. Interesting. So you're saying no. You're saying no thanks. I don't want that trade. Okay. Noted. Do I have any just forceful way through? No, I mean, they're just taking there. I don't have enough going on. Thinking queen e1. So they're gonna quickly now key in on c4. I'll take once. This kind of reposition, I'm not quite sure what my knight is doing there. Maybe one day if he could occupy d3, but I'm under 3. Thinking queen to e1 to kind of overprotect my knight here. Or maybe rook here, rook c8. Rook c2, knight c4, I take once. The knight recaptures, and then I drop my bishop back to c1. That might be a good way to organize. I think I like that. Rook c1, rook c8, rook c2. One knight jumps in, I take. They recapture, and then I drop back here. I think that's really good harmony. Yeah, I think I like the coordination that results. And, well, I'm improving my rook. Are they going to look to jump in right now, at a moment where I wouldn't have this convenient, underdeveloping move? My rook is in the bishop's way, so here, here, here. I think I will take. I think that's a favorable structural change for white. They're under 3 now. Very interesting middle game battle, static structure. A lot of play on the queen side, some prophylactic type moves on black's end to kind of negate my f5 break. But I just want things to kind of settle down here. I'm trying to make sure things are under control on the queen side before I take further action elsewhere. And elsewhere for me is the king side, where I have a space advantage. But this is taking quite a long time because black is keeping me very preoccupied. So here we are. Moment of truth. Well, these two are struck out. I think I have to go in for it. So big decision now. Knight takes, pawn takes. This is what I was referring to. So this is a case now where I think I do well to take this knight out and now push with d5. So I'm going to go for it. It's my better bishop, but now I think this is the key move, as otherwise I have to be very timely. If I don't push now c6, I may not ever be able to push. Another alternative is maybe knight here, but I don't like that. I think bishop here, and even if I'm winning a pawn, this bishop is really strong. I was pointing this out before. So push, and yeah, I think this must be the way forward. Now, if I could somehow get moves in like this, dark square bishop exchange, and just camp out on one of these two, I'd love that. Okay, 112 left. Thinking d5. I'm going to go with d5. Yeah, it may turn into an opposite color bishop ending. And, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Oh, you know what? I may have a positional sacrifice idea here. If pawn takes, maybe I don't even take back. I might be able to camp out here. It's tough. It's tough. Pawn takes, knight takes, bishop e7. Bishop takes knight. Queen takes. I would really like to get on this diagonal. I don't see how I pull this off. I'm pretty sure I'll be taking with the queen on pawn takes pawn. Things are opening up. You have to keep your eyes peeled for tactics. Unprotected pieces. This guy's unprotected, so takes. Okay, well, let's just put it on, right? Jump right in there. Gotta play bishop here. Or here. Bishop here I could still jump in. Takes, queen takes, bishop to d4. The skewer. Oh, also bishop here I have bishop to c5. So the bishop has to go to e7. Yeah, they overlooked this. So now that I think they're just never castling, at least kingside. Oh, you know what? I have something even better maybe. I'm just seeing this now. I'm converging on this b6 square. So bishop to b6, the queen moves, and then knight to c7 is a backbreaker. Do they have anything fancy against me? I'm at 40 seconds. So now I'm converging on one square. b6, I think this is a killer now. Bishop to b6. So no checks against me. Attacking their queen. What could be a great reply? No checks against my king. Is there a counterattack against my queen? There isn't. Okay, bishop here, but I could just duck. Improve my queen, right? Queen to d4, and this is still hitting. The king will be uncastled. I'll be up the exchange. It may even be the case that I'm up a full rook somehow. They're at 22 seconds. 22 moves in. What are they going to decide on? Queen h4? Can't really do that. You gotta go here. One of these two. Are they going to make a move? Yes, they are. Let's jump in. Have something better? Let's hit him with a check. I'm winning a full rook. Because I take the rook and then here I get the bishop. Do I insert a check first? I don't see any reason to do that. Let's just take. Bishop here, I have this. Man, they just resigned. Wow. Very interesting game, as mentioned. Yeah, big strategic battle there. Not very lengthy move-wise, but yeah, they're saying they missed the tactic. Yeah. b6. Okay, so before I go over it with the analysis, yeah, they're asking. Before I go over it with the analysis, well, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I think I was able to voice most of what was really running through my head. Okay. So, yeah, namely this capture I felt was a bit premature because it gave me this idea. For example, if black held off one move, didn't make this capture, and instead went with a5. Let's say a5 was played first. Here, let's say a5. Okay, I have to actually just put on the analysis board here. Let me cut that out. So, if they didn't take and they played here instead, or even queen to b6, what am I doing here? I'm not so... I can't just play knight to e2 so easily now because I don't have a follow-up square to jump into c3. So this helped me some because of this capture. Opening up c3 gave me an additional possibility that I otherwise would not have had. So they should keep the tension, is what I'm getting at, I believe at least. And I wouldn't have had this type of reposition. But even so, yeah, what a queenside battle. And these variations, I think it was like much earlier on, I was emphasizing how, I don't want to take a knight that arrives on c4 and then things change because I had an opportunity to then change the structure with d5. Knight b3, maybe this was the other one. This will be the other point. Instead of h5, maybe the computer would prefer rook to c8 with the knight jumping in here. So I'm curious maybe about this position. So I look at it with the engine. But right around here, if they do rook c8, rook c2 is what I had in mind here, taking once, and on knight takes, I can back up. And these tactics on a3 are not working. Knight takes, pawn takes, I have coverage. And one day maybe even this rook can swing over here. So now I've consolidated, let's say, the queen side, and now I'm ready to maybe push through somehow on the king side. Maybe that could even involve just some sacrifice. It's still the big question I have is, where's the king going? As soon as A5 was in, going queenside is kind of out. Maybe not. You know what? In a way, black has such a grip on the queen side. It's kind of tough to get in, but with the rook already on c1. But I don't know if they could like clog up c4 first. I don't think they should go kingside is what I'm getting at, because these guys here, some kind of push, maybe even g4 takes, queen takes, and there's just too many white pieces nearing the black king. Okay, well, let's see what the graph is saying. This is what they have to say. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I guess I didn't make any slips. Okay. That's good news. Let's see where the improvements are. They're calling 3 mistakes on black's end. So where are these mistakes exactly? Is it at the position here? No, that's not regarded as a mistake, but what is the suggestion here instead of captures? The other suggestion is to push, but I was pointing out a5 instead of captures, or queen to b6. I guess right around this point there'll be multiple moves for black, but yeah, I think this black does well, in short, to simply maintain the tension for the reasons pointed out earlier. So they took bishop d2. I would have been fine with bishop b4. I would have met with bishop d2, no problem. And now a5. I feel like I've somehow seen a computer do this before. I don't know. A little bit fuzzy on that. So, okay, this is where I went in for a knight on c3. Where are the mistakes here? I mean, it's 0.3, so yeah, I guess maybe once it just started to open up, it likes knight to b3. I'm not playing rook to a2. No, that just does not make any sense to me. I would like to just stay one square away from getting on an open file instead of being completely out of play. And yeah, rook to b1. g6, bishop there, h5. So something was lost here. It's not regarding that as a mistake. But yeah, it likes rook to c8. So yeah, it could do without. I guess they didn't want to see g4 in this, but here's the thing. If there is some fear by black of g4, this is met with h5. Or no, I have to react to this threat first of all. And I would have a knight to a2 move. Just pointing this out in the game. Just get my knight basically out of the line of fire. That's I guess an additional benefit of a3 that I didn't realize until many moves later. You see that in like Roy Lopez h3, knight h2 reposition. Kind of have that going on over here as well with the a2 square. So yeah, rook to c8 seemed more to the point, kind of taking an approach where you say, you know what, let me make sure I activate all my pieces first and then maybe do these tidying up type of moves. You can't always go by that, but black has had this idea to, I guess, probably stop g4. But even if there wasn't some tactic, let's say rook b8 was played, can I even play g4? It feels like h5 is there. Okay, so I guess maybe I am hitting pretty fast with f5. And on takes, I'm able to crash through and give up my knight, mate in 5. Yeah, so this does hit pretty fast. So I could see why black would want to stop g4. So, but yeah, this is I have well, black has some punches that they're throwing against my queen side here. I don't have time for g4, or do I? It still says it's equal. Okay, let's go with the move played, h5, knight to d2. Does it like knight to d2? Okay, I wouldn't have played queen to c2. That doesn't make much sense. Let's go to the open file. This is something, but yeah, I just want to get rid of their knight. And they retreated. Does it like rook to c1? It's okay with rook to c1. And yeah, after this, it's liking this structural change. So are we arriving now at the mistake here? After I take knight takes c4 as a mistake. This is where they goofed. And now it's, I guess, just losing from here. Yeah, it's gone after that move, because I do get to give up my bishop and have this favorable structural change. And tough decision now. Deal with a knight that's on d5 and ready to pounce on f6, or as in the game, bishop b6, or cope with one day maybe a connected pass pawn that's really, really deep in black's position. But apparently there's even better here. The no soup for you move. No castling allowed. What about bishop to e7? There goes d6, only now with tempo. And now here comes the knight. So this is just some serious, serious dark square weaknesses. Could only imagine a dark square bishop exchange and a knight here. He's worth a rook and probably 3 pawns. Something out of the ballpark. So, yeah, it's just a favorable structural change. So what black should have done is capture with the pawn. And I would have played this, because I need to take some care over this. And now bishop to c6. And totally different ball game now, because we're having a bad bishop for good bishop exchange. Queen to f3. I think I would have played a move like queen to f3, because this is a doubled pawns, right? They look very ugly, but look at the support. This pawn is now lending to d5. And what's going to happen is that black is going to have an enormous knight versus a super tall pawn. Yeah. I'm preferring black in this position. I know it's reading 0.3, but I would prefer to play black. This bishop controls the knight. They're offsetting, and what do you turn to next? We're going to have a super strong knight versus this guy, and I don't know what his future is. So, and I think it still would have turned out like that. I mean, here, let's say queen. Okay, this is a little bit different. I mean, I would have an option one day to maybe take and then have some kind of break like this, and wow. This is a very interesting endgame. They have the better bishop. I have some space in the center, but yeah, they have some space over here on the queen side. Yeah, this would have made a pretty interesting endgame if it came to that. But I guess in the end they really just underestimated the power of this key pawn break d5, and as mentioned, it has to be super timely. If I say to myself at this point, okay, I don't have a flight square, let's maybe make a flight square for my king, things just shift right away. I don't get in this advance. And they take over control of d5, they have the bishop pair and an unopposed bishop that knifes right into my king position, and it's just no good. But yeah, it's just gone from here. Bishop to b6, and I imagine there's other good moves, but keying in on that one square, follow up knight c7, and it's just gone. It's not the exchange, it's a full rook. Queen takes knight, queen takes bishop. Okay, well, interesting game out of the what was it, French Tarrasch, I think at least. Anyhow, feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. Hope you're having a good day, and I will catch you soon. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.